The doctors said my wife was going to die, that her blood sugar was out of control, that her rapid weight gain was life-threatening, and that her leg, which was plagued with painful infected ulcers, was putting her entire body at fatal risk. They said there was no hope. I went to several doctors for second opinions. Each specialist and each know-it-all blood sugar expert told me the same thing, that the only way my wife would live to see another day was if we cut off her leg. I couldn't imagine it. My poor wife, a dedicated mother at the age of 59, becoming an amputee, a woman who loved gardening, taking walks, staying active in the church community, would have her legs sawed off like some animal, made to be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of her days. And the worst part, this surgery would not only be excruciatingly painful and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, burying our entire family in debt, but there was also no guarantee that her diabetes would ever get better, even with the procedure. This was not how I wanted my wife to spend her golden years, robbed of her joy, freedom, mobility, and will to live. So I had to do something, anything, to save her life, before it was too late. Hi, my name is Patrick Singleton, and I'm here to give you a real answer to your blood sugar problems. Inside this presentation, I'll give you the keys to naturally lowering your blood sugar levels, even if your readings have been in the 200s, 250s, or 300s, and you've been battling your blood sugar for years. There are no prescription pills, dietary changes, or exercises you have to do, and no gurus or expensive specialists you have to meet with. This simple method is as easy as brushing your teeth and takes less time, too. And it has been scientifically proven to reduce blood sugar levels, slash high cholesterol, improve heart health, and even help you lose unhealthy body fat. Now, I know it all sounds too good to be true. And trust me, I was just as skeptical when I first heard about this outlandish breakthrough. But then I learned just how it works. A method so unconventional, yet so effective, you have to see it with your own eyes. That's exactly what I'm going to show you today, along with a mountain of evidence to prove to you just how powerful this method is, and how it can rapidly control your blood sugar and help you manage your diabetes once and for all. You should know this solution works no matter if you're 19 or 95, whether you were recently diagnosed with diabetes or have been suffering for decades, or are starting to experience symptoms that have you worried, like uncontrollable weight gain, excessive thirstiness, or sleeping problems. This method is something simple that works every day to keep you protected around the clock from a lethal blood sugar spike, so you can live worry-free. And if you're tired of poking yourself multiple times a day to check your blood glucose, if you're fed up with the costs of meters, testing strips, and insulin injections, and if you're done with being told what to eat, when to eat, and how to eat, then you must pay attention to this entire presentation. That's because in the next few moments, I'll show you the 8 kitchen ingredients that could help stop blood sugar spikes, the easy-as-pie blood sugar method that controls your levels instantly, and how to avoid life-threatening spikes when your prescriptions fail you. Plus, I'll show you how I unexpectedly discovered the solution to my wife's diabetes crisis growing right in our front yard, in a tree that at first sight looked like a dead carcass, but that I soon realized was worth more than gold, and that it's even talked about in the Bible. This tree was the key to reversing my wife's diabetes when nothing else worked. But don't just take my word for it. There are over 12,000 people that have already started using this blood sugar control method to control their type 2 diabetes and take back their lives. Folks like Nellie Tomlin from Springfield, Illinois. She writes, "I love pasta and bread, and my blood sugar problems forced me to cut out my favorite foods, making my life miserable. But thanks to Patrick's method, I can curb my blood sugar spikes and still eat the things I love. Thank you." And Myra Robinson from Baltimore, Maryland. She says, Finding an affordable solution to my diabetes has been tough. My insulin and metformin costs me upwards of $500 a month, not to mention the daily expenses of living as a diabetic. I was so thankful to find this solution and have it work. I cut down my dependency on my medications by half, and my doctor is even hopeful I won't need them after a while. Thank you, Patrick, for sharing this breakthrough with the world. It saved my life. And Philip Terry from Fort Wayne, Indiana, he writes, I'm very skeptical of anything I find on the internet, but man, when I saw Patrick's presentation, heard his remarkable story, and saw all the science backing up his method, I had to give it a try. Since using his solution, my blood sugar stays in the safe zone all day, around 115 before breakfast and 165 between meals. Plus, unlike my other medications, this stuff doesn't make me gain weight. You've got to give it a try and see for yourself how this helps anyone with type 2 diabetes. This is only a handful of the success stories from people far and wide who have used this diabetes breakthrough to transform their lives. And I'm going to show you how you can join Philip, Myra, Nellie, and thousands of other happy people who have taken control of their blood sugar health with this simple method. But first, I must warn you, this breakthrough is extremely controversial. In fact, Big Pharma wants to ban this presentation from the web. That's because not only does this solution fly in the face of everything doctors and scientists have taught you about diabetes, it works faster, smarter, and more effectively than anything Big Pharma makes, which is why I'm worried that they'll take down this site at any moment, robbing you of your chance to make a real difference in your health and get control of your life again. So, let's not waste any more time, because I'm about to reveal to you the life-changing diabetes breakthrough that saved my wife's life, and I have faith that it can make a difference in yours too. So, like I mentioned, my name is Patrick Singleton. I am a construction worker from just outside of Roanoke, Virginia, where I live with my wife Kelsey and our 3 kids, Sheldon, Abby, and Carly. I'm not a health expert or doctor. Heck, I'm no scientist either. So I wondered if I was even qualified to take people on this journey, if it was right for me to share how I found a natural trick to controlling blood sugar spikes and managing the symptoms of diabetes. But as I began down this path, I realized that this put me at an advantage. I brought a different perspective to the problem of diabetes, and my open-mindedness steered me down a path most people wouldn't take, leading me straight to a scientific breakthrough that doctors are still shocked to admit works. So, what exactly happened? And what do I know about diabetes? And how can I help you control your blood sugar levels naturally? Because if you're here with me, you either have type 2 diabetes, know someone who does, or are worried that you might be a pre-diabetic, and you're scared about what will happen if your health continues to spiral out of control. And like I said, I've been in your shoes before. My wife, Kelsey, was diagnosed with diabetes at the age of 56. The news was devastating, and up until then, we had no idea what was going on. Out of nowhere, Kelsey's waist expanded 4 sizes in 1 year, and she kept on getting bigger and bigger. The crazy thing was, she wasn't a big sweets or junk food eater, and she didn't drink alcohol. I just thought we were both slowing down as we got older and we were putting on a few pounds, which is natural, right? But Kelsey didn't think the weight gain was normal, and after a while she complained about her feet going numb, particularly her left foot. Then I noticed she was thirsty a lot. So when we took her to the doctor and her blood glucose was at 213, it all suddenly clicked for me. Kelsey was displaying all the signs of type 2 diabetes. And now we had the official diagnosis from the doctor. Reality sank in. Kelly would spend the rest of her life chained to her type 2 diabetes. Every day she'd wake up worrying about testing her blood sugar, taking her daily insulin injections, counting every carb and calorie, trying to avoid a blood sugar spike. And then I couldn't help but fear the worst. What if she got even more sick and lost her vision or developed heart disease? I even heard people with diabetes can start having seizures and brain disorders, which I couldn't imagine happening to my poor Kelsey. Within a few short hours of diagnosis, both Kelsey and I realized the painful truth. When you have diabetes, anxiety dominates your life. Agonizing over testing your blood glucose daily becomes a living nightmare, because if you allow your blood sugar to spike above 130 fasting or above 160 between meals, then you can find yourself in a state of diabetic ketoacidosis, which can be fatal, or leave you in a debilitating coma, a vegetable for the rest of your life. Diabetes was not only a dangerous disease to have, it's an expensive disease to manage. Kelsey and I learned that the average person spends $285,000 in their lifetime on diabetes medication. That doesn't include hospital visits, dietary foods, or therapy. And 9 times out of 10, diabetes leads to worse conditions down the road that could kill you. Kelsey was hurt by the diagnosis, but she wanted to remain hopeful that there was something she could do to turn things around. They put Kelsey on a prescription and insulin immediately and told us we had to cut out sugars and carbs from her diet and switch to low glycemic foods. We were encouraged to start up an exercise program 5 days a week so that Kelsey could lose weight. And they also recommended we watch a ton of videos on glucose testing, because the very next morning she would have to start testing multiple times a day to keep track of her blood sugar levels. Both of us were still working, and our youngest was just getting into college. So it's an understatement when I say we were not prepared for diabetes. The stress and fear it put on our lives made every day like walking on eggshells. 6 months into the diagnosis, Kelsey was already worn out by the treatments. The daily testing and insulin injections never got easier for her, and the constant stress about keeping track of her sugar intake made it impossible for her to relax at all. Sometimes she'd be woken up in the middle of the night by crazy cravings caused by an unhealthy blood sugar drop, which would wreck her energy for days to come. And over the next 3 years, I watched my wife wilt like a dying rose. She was not the Kelsey I married. She was sick, tired, and overstressed. No matter how hard she tried, she could not keep the weight down, which discouraged her from sticking with her gym routine. Her blood sugar levels were inconsistent and dangerously high at points, reaching 220 to 240 at times. Kelsey didn't want to give up, but I could tell the disease was taking a toll on her. She said that diabetes was the ultimate ball and chain. She couldn't go out, volunteer, spend time with her church friends the way she used to. She just didn't have the motivation or good health. I was growing increasingly frustrated with the medical system, who seemed to always be adding a new bill to our plate every month. 2 years in, they told us that Kelsey's diabetes was worsening rapidly and that she needed to upgrade to an insulin pump instead of injections. The pump alone cost $5,000, plus the cost of the insulin itself. With my construction worker's salary and Kelsey's teaching wage, we couldn't afford to keep up with our medical bills. The money we saved up for our youngest's college fund was now going straight to the doctors and pharmacy, which made me feel like an utter failure. This disease was not only killing Kelsey, but destroying our entire family. Kelsey grew so depressed. She felt as if she had put a huge burden on my shoulders when she got sick. And even though I reassured her that I would do anything to keep her alive, I could tell Kelsey thought about doing harmful things to herself to take herself out of the picture so she wouldn't have to suffer any longer. I wasn't going to allow my family to be torn apart by this disease, but with money and time running out, I needed to come up with a way to do something about Kelsey's blood sugar problems. And that's when things really went south. Kelsey kept complaining about the numbness she felt in her left foot. So I pulled off her shoe to find her sock stained with yellowish liquid. Frantically peeling back the sock, I saw a pus-filled sore oozing under her big toe. We went to the doctor immediately. Kelsey had a foot ulcer, and it was infected, which was very common for folks with type 2 diabetes. The sore would need to be cleaned carefully daily, or else she'd risk gangrene, which is a flesh-eating skin disease. If you contract gangrene, the only way to stop it from spreading is amputation, which doctors told us might be a reality for us. The news nearly broke Kelsey in half. She could hardly cope. Now that she was suffering from foot ulcers, our medical bills would not only increase. The doctors told me she needed to stay off her feet and in the hospital until her levels normalized and her infection healed, which could take weeks. So I had to start seriously considering new ways to come up with some cash fast, or else Kelsey would be out of medication and medical attention. I couldn't risk that. So I started thinking about what in my life had any real monetary value. And the first thing I thought of was my dad's old house just outside Flagstaff, Arizona. We'd been using the home as a vacation spot when we traveled during summer and winter vacations, and it had been in my family for generations. I was hoping to pass it on to one of my kids someday. But with Kelsey's bills piling up and her health getting worse, I knew that selling the home could give us the opportunity to pay down some of Kelsey's hospital debt and even give us enough money to look into a specialist for her foot. Kelsey supported my decision. She hoped that I could find some way, any way, to save her leg. And she didn't want to be in a wheelchair for the rest of her life, only to die a year, maybe even months later from this disease. It was hard for me to leave her to work on selling the house, but what choice did I have? I needed to find a way to save Kelsey's life. So I flew nearly 3,000 miles across the country down to my dad's old house in Arizona and met with a home appraiser who could give me an estimate on the house's worth. The home appraiser walked the entire property, giving me advice on sprucing up the landscape and construction here and there so I could get more money out of the house. The main thing he told me was that I ought to get rid of the hideously ugly tree in my front yard. It made sense, because the tree was a true eyesore. It was about 10 feet tall, leafless, spiny, and it looked as dead as roadkill. But it had been on the property as long as I could remember. I even had faint memories of my dad planting it there when we were little kids. To be honest, I didn't even know what kind of tree it was. But if it was standing in the way of us getting more money for Kelsey's blood sugar treatments, then I was willing to part ways with it. So next thing I did was hop online and seek out someone who could come uproot this tree for me. After haggling with a few landscapers, I found a guy named Daniel Patel with Patel's Plants who had the right price and seemed pretty knowledgeable about trees. Daniel came out to my dad's house to meet me the very next day. And I was surprised that Daniel was from India, because, well, you don't meet too many Indian landscapers these days. Daniel explained to me that back home in India he was a gardener and his wife was a cook. They grew herbs and fresh whole foods to feed their community with. They moved to America for more opportunity, but they brought their love of nature with them. Well, call me sappy, but I love hearing stories of folks who come to this country legally to make a better life for their loved ones and who work real hard once they get here. And I was happy to have him help me uproot this eyesore of a tree in my yard. But when Daniel took one look at the tree, he refused to cut it down. "This tree is priceless," he said, ogling it from trunk to tip. "You don't know where this comes from?" he asked me. I admitted I had no clue, and that I was told to get rid of it to have more curb appeal. Daniel scoffed, and then he placed his hands on the tree. The way he touched it made it seem like he knew the tree personally, like being near it was taking him to a faraway place in his mind. "This is the guggle tree. In your country, you know it as myrrh, a gift from the 3 wise men to baby Jesus. This is an all-healing plant. It is the tree of life, sacred to all mankind." I heard the words healing plant and my ears really perked up, so I asked him what he meant by that. "It can heal anything. Heart disease, obesity." "What about diabetes?" I asked him desperately. "Yeah, diabetes too. Goggle stops diabetes like that. Its name means preventer of disease. Back in India, we don't get diabetes because we take Guggle every day. We take it like you brush your teeth. It's the most important thing." That's when I shared with Daniel that my wife had diabetes and that she was at risk of losing her leg if we didn't get something to get her blood sugar under control. Daniel told me he was sorry for my wife, that he knew what it was like to have a loved one fall ill. That's why the guggle tree was so important to him. His wife was not only a cook, but a medicine woman. I'll tell you a story. There was a shaman who lived in the deep hills of the forest of India, who walked all the way to my village one day to name my wife Aruna, the medicine lady, Daniel said. A monk's blessing is the purest incantation of God, so my wife followed in her master's footsteps. The shaman taught her ancient healing techniques, medicine you might know as Ayurvedic, but it's much more than that. There are secrets she knows about the body and about the earth, and she knows a secret to healing the blood. And if she has this guggle plant, then I'm most certain she can find everything else she needs to make potion to help your wife beat her diabetes. My eyes widened at the thought of miraculously curing Kelly's diabetes. Could it really be that simple? But just as I started imagining me and Kelsey's happily ever after, no longer worrying about her blood sugar, my BS alarms started ringing off in my head. Was this tree in fact goggle, and could it reverse my wife's type 2 diabetes symptoms? Was Daniel's wife really a shamanic medicine woman who had the Eastern medicinal secret to saving my wife's life? It all sounded too good to be true. If guggle is so powerful, why don't I just buy it online or something? I'm sure I can find it, I said. You can look, but it's likely not the real thing. Real guggle takes 8 years for the sap to mature, and only 100 milligrams can be extracted every 2 years. Western world is too impatient for that. They might be selling guggle, but it's not high quality. It's not fully mature. And you think I've got the real thing growing in my front yard? What's in it for you? I asked him again. Daniel said, Look, I don't make an offer to heal people every day. My wife, she works hard enough. I love her, and I understand you love your wife too. Just putting myself in your shoes, I would want someone to help me like I'm offering to help you. I had to admit that Daniel was being generous to offer help. But if the guggle tree was as valuable as he said it was, there was always a chance he was trying to double-cross me. It was a lot to consider, but again, I was at the end of my rope. I was on the verge of selling my childhood home just to pay a bunch of doctors who weren't helping Kelsey get any better. And while it was a long shot that this man Daniel and his wife could help me, maybe this was a miracle from God, and it would take this act of faith for me to become the hero my wife deserved. So, as crazy as it sounds, I agreed to work with Daniel to make my wife his Indian blood sugar potion that would help lower her levels and stabilize her symptoms, so she could save her leg and start living a normal life again. Daniel told me that the first step would be extracting the guggle sap from the tree. He used a process called tapping, which involved slicing the tree trunk in arrow-like designs, forming a spout with the use of metal materials. Then he let the sap ooze out slowly into a small tin cup until we got about 100 milligrams of it. After that, Daniel said he needed to go back to his wife so they could add in other ingredients. I followed him back to his family restaurant where I met Aruna. She was a pretty woman who wore elaborate scarves, and when Daniel told her about the guggle and how we intended to help my wife get over her diabetes, her face lit up like it was Christmas, and she immediately got to work in the kitchen. She gathered the guggle along with a bunch of other herbs and powders, and mixed them into a bowl, burned sage, prayed over them, and continued working on the potion. I was in disbelief, to be honest, and when she finished, she whispered something to Daniel. He told me to come back in 7 days, and that he'd have a finished potion ready for me. Not expecting to have to wait so long, I was a little disappointed. But with the extra time on my hands, I decided the least I could do would be to research the guggle plant more, and find out if Daniel had been honest about guggle's abilities to help with diabetes. When I got back to Dad's house, I started researching the benefits of guggle, and I was shocked to see just how powerful this plant really was. It turns out Daniel had been telling the truth. Guggle has been used since 600 BC. People call it the tree of life because of all of its health benefits. And long before big medicine came into the picture, guggle was the go-to plant to solving all kinds of bodily ailments. In fact, Guggle has been known to not only help reduce bad cholesterol, inflammation, and body fat, but Guggle also can help regulate your sugar metabolism so your blood sugar doesn't spike, which is important for diabetics. I found numerous studies supporting this, including a study in the Journal of the Experimental and Clinical Sciences, where scientists tested the effects of Guggle across a placebo-controlled group of diabetic subjects and concluded that Guggle prevented the rise in glucose levels by 96.7%, while enhancing insulin levels by 77.7% and improving insulin sensitivity by 27.3%. This was incredible news. The evidence was clear. Guggle blocks excess blood sugar while increasing insulin production, which keeps your blood sugar level stable and your body healthy. As I kept researching, I discovered that Guggle has more benefits than one. In addition to reducing blood sugar levels, fat, and cholesterol, Guggle protects the liver and kidneys, supports healthy heart function, works as an antioxidant with antimicrobial properties, promotes thyroid health, has anti-aging properties that can protect the brain and skin, and fights inflammation and oxidative stress. Seeing all this about Guggle got me pretty excited. The research I was doing was giving me a new sense of hope. Guggle really seemed like it was the answer to lowering Kelsey's blood sugar, and I couldn't wait for Daniel and Aruna to finish their potion. Any day now, I'd be able to test it out on my wife and start her healing process, and I could hardly stay patient. The doctors were threatening to amputate the leg if things didn't get better, so I had to take this shot. But 5 days into waiting for Daniel's call, I got a harrowing message from the hospital, saying Kelsey was vomiting uncontrollably and her blood sugar spiked to 313. She was risking diabetic ketoacidosis, which could put her into a coma. They told me I needed to get back to Virginia right away. Panicking, I tried calling Daniel to see if he could give me the potion today, but when I phoned him, nobody answered. I then drove to his family restaurant, but the shop was completely closed with all the lights turned off. It looked like the place had shut down overnight. I phoned Daniel again and still no response. That's when my stomach began to churn. I felt like an idiot. Daniel must have duped me. He must have taken the Guggle resin and disappeared with it. Why else would he be avoiding me? I was so angry that I had put my hope and trust in him, and I wanted nothing more than to set fire to his restaurant and curse his family name. Now I had to get back to my wife empty-handed. I didn't sell the house, didn't get money for medical bills, and most certainly didn't find a cure to her blood sugar problems. It was time to face the music. My wife was going to lose her leg to this disease, and it wouldn't be long before I lost her. Thankfully, this isn't my story. My story isn't over yet. I went back to pack my things and prepare a flight back home to Virginia. But the moment I hopped online to book my flight, I got a call from an international number. Not expecting a call from overseas, I answered it cautiously, and to my surprise, it was Daniel. He was calling to tell me he and his wife traveled all the way back to India to pick up a few ingredients, that there were 8 ingredients total, and he would show them all to me when he got back to the States the next day. This was exciting news. When I told him about my wife's worsening conditions, he agreed to meet me in Virginia at the hospital so I could get this potion to Kelsey right away. I couldn't believe it. There was still hope. I took a red-eye flight back to Virginia so I could stay by Kelsey's side, who was getting weaker by the moment. And Daniel kept his word, meeting outside of the hospital the very next day. He brought the potion in a small soup container, and he told me to give Kelsey 2 teaspoons a day, and that I would see her blood sugar levels drop to a healthy level, her cholesterol levels normalize, and that she'd even lose unhealthy weight. He also wrote on a piece of paper all the ingredients Aruna used in the mixture, so I could keep Kelsey healthy for many years to come. Well, as excited as I was to start giving my wife the potion that Daniel and Aruna had created, I also knew I needed to do some research on the 8 ingredients that were inside to make sure they were safe for Kelsey to take. So I went online and started Googling the ingredients one by one. And I was thrilled to see that for every ingredient on the list, there was just a tremendous amount of hard scientific research showing that they could play a major role in lowering blood sugar, supporting healthy cholesterol, and even burning fat. The first herb was called banaba leaf, which, to my surprise, has been proven time and time again to help lower glucose levels in the bloodstream. For example, according to a recent study published by the Journal of Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine, scientists concluded after a year-long examination across 10 diabetics that banaba leaf extract can decrease glucose production in the body by up to 30%. Plus, banaba leaf doesn't cause any weight gain or low blood sugar, hypoglycemia, which is important for people who battle weight issues brought on by insulin resistance. The second herb was called Gymnema sylvester. Gymnema sylvester has been called destroyer of sugar because of its effect on glucose in the bloodstream. And according to the Journal of Ethnopharmacology, Gymnema sylvester lowers blood sugar levels by increasing the amount of insulin in the blood. Its unique properties help promote the release of insulin from the beta cells of the pancreas, and even lowers fat levels in the blood. From there, the ingredients in Daniel and Aruna's blood sugar-lowering potion only got better and better. Then there was bitter melon, which I learned is full of a chemical called polypeptide P, which has hypoglycemic effects, blood sugar lowering on the body. There was also cinnamon bark, which most people know is a natural anti-inflammatory and antioxidant, but also naturally increases insulin sensitivity. The mixture also includes juniper berry. Juniper berry is a low glycemic fruit that promotes heart health and fights inflammation, which is important for immune health. It also had a good source of licorice root, which is a powerful antioxidant that even helps with weight loss and prevents cardiovascular disease, which is the main cause of death for diabetes. And lastly, Aruna and Daniel's mixture contained white mulberry, which works to decrease levels of glucose in the blood. These were the 8 ingredients that were going to reverse my wife's type 2 diabetes. I thank Daniel for everything he and Aruna did for us. We shook hands, said our goodbyes, and I never saw him again. Now that I had the potion, I could finally give it to Kelsey. I told her about Daniel, Aruna, and the blood sugar mixture, and everything that I researched on the guggle plant. When she heard everything, Kelsey wanted to start trying the potion immediately. But we would have to keep her treatment a secret from the doctors, who would undoubtedly put me in the loony bin if I told them what I was doing for Kelsey. So I began sneaking her 2 teaspoons of the formula every day to see if her blood sugar would normalize. I also kept a close eye on her foot ulcer to see if it would heal. But all day, her tests kept coming back with skyrocketing numbers, and her foot didn't improve. On days 2 and 3, it was much of the same misery. Me sneaking her the tablespoons of the mixture, which Kelsey said tasted straight up like dirt, and then watching her choke it down, only to be disappointed by her glucose readings all day. All the while, the doctors were relentless about her leg. They kept pressuring her to consider the options of cutting her leg off, the different ways she could live out her life, handicapped. My wife looked sick, weak, and tired, and I knew she was inches away from letting them amputate. She had been fighting this battle for a long time, and the pain she was in every day was enough to drive her crazy. And her leg was infected, and if it got any worse, the gangrene could spread. Seeing my wife suffer really hurt me, and I came close to throwing in the towel. This was an emotional roller coaster, and I wanted off. But something told me to dig in my heels to stay strong, and I'm glad that I did, because on the 5th day, Kelly's fasting glucose reading had dropped 10 points. Now, while this reading was still too high to be out of the red, the 10-point drop was a great sign. Maybe this potion was working after all, and maybe we had a chance at fighting this. But it was still too early to be getting our hopes up. This could have very well been the placebo effect, and we needed to see if Kelsey continued to get better day by day. If her levels stayed down, then we would know that it was working. So as the days continued to pass by, and I kept giving Kelsey the mixture, we watched with bated breath as she performed each glucose reading, and we were thrilled to watch her blood sugar levels slowly but surely begin to stabilize. Day after day, The doctors were shocked. They couldn't figure out how my wife had started to get better so fast. They were dumbstruck that within a week, Kelsey's life-threatening blood glucose levels had dropped to 180 milligrams per deciliter. My wife hadn't had a reading like that in ages. The doctors were stunned too when her leg swelling went down, and her infection also began to heal, which meant she didn't have to go through with the amputation. Kelly was up and walking on her foot within a week of starting this potion. She even began losing weight. In the first week, she dropped 10 pounds, and fat kept on melting off. It was like God laid his hands on my wife and healed her with the light of heaven. Kelsey was so excited. You could see that the life had been brought back into her eyes. She was starting to believe that she wouldn't be controlled by diabetes for the rest of her life, that she wouldn't have to go into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt with medical bills, that we wouldn't have to sell our family home. Kelsey saw that our prayers had been answered. Her diabetes nightmare was turning into a happily ever after. 2 weeks after being admitted to the hospital and being told that she was going to lose her leg to diabetes, Kelsey walked right out the front doors of the hospital with her blood sugar stabilized at 168 milligrams per deciliter. It was a moment I'll never forget. As the months went on, Kelsey kept taking the formula, and she kept getting better and better. Everyone around town was so happy to see Kelsey back in the swing of things. They wanted to know what her secret was to getting healthy so fast. Kelsey was proud to say that I helped her, that her husband saved her life. Things started to take off from there. When people at the church heard about my formula, they wanted to get their hands on it immediately, and they even raised money for me to buy more ingredients. That's when I realized that my work was far from over. I would have to find a way to make this diabetes-fighting solution available to as many diabetics as possible, getting it into the hands of folks who wanted to start taking control of their health today by lowering their cholesterol, dropping fat, and stabilizing their blood sugar levels, without the use of prescription pills or changing their diets. I decided I needed to transform this formula into an easy-to-swallow pill that was lab-tested and scientifically approved. So I started working with a local lab on transforming this formula. It took nearly 6 months and over $600,000, money that we raised and borrowed from the banks, just to get the blend perfectly right. We sourced the most natural forms of the 8 ingredients that we could find, which are, again, guggle, banaba leaf, Genema sylvester, bitter melon, cinnamon bark, juniper berry, licorice root, white mulberry powder. And we even found a certified organic guggle cultivator who could help supply the main ingredient in our formulation. Plus, we added more nutrient-enhancing ingredients that make formula work even faster and stronger, and last longer. It has been a long road, but now I'm happy to say that I created something that I am proud of, and that Kelsey loves using too. Heck, I even take it now just to protect my blood sugar health, because you never know when diabetes can strike, and it's best to stay always protected. This is why I've decided to share this formula with everyone out there who is looking for an alternative solution, who've seen the dark and dismal road diabetes leads you down, losing your vision, losing your hand, foot, or leg, losing your independence, losing the right to eat your favorite foods, to live a normal life. With this breakthrough, you have the power to control your blood sugar once and for all and get your life back. That's why we call the solution Gluco Pro Balance. And it features all 8 ingredients I shared with you today, including guggle extract, banaba leaf extract, Genema sylvester extract, bitter melon extract, licorice root, cinnamon bark, juniper berry powder, white mulberry powder. Plus, we also added 6 more all-natural blood sugar-supporting ingredients that help boost the strength and bioavailability of our Gluco Pro Balance formula, lowering your blood sugar faster and keeping it healthy, including yarrow flowers, which are packed full of natural inulin, which helps manage glucose levels in the blood and control cholesterol, cayenne pepper, anti-inflammatory and antioxidant that helps burn unhealthy body fat and promote better sugar metabolism. Vanadium and chromium, two natural elements that help increase insulin sensitivity and improve blood sugar levels. Zinc and magnesium, both elements help control rising glucose and reduce the risk of metabolic illnesses. Each ingredient has been scientifically proven to help lower blood sugar and increase insulin sensitivity. And when combined together, these 14 blood sugar lowering ingredients give you the ultimate defense against diabetes and its debilitating symptoms. No matter how long you've suffered from your type 2 diabetes, you should know that Gluco Pro Balance is manufactured right here in the U.S. in a facility that follows all GMP guidelines. And we also have each batch tested by an independent third-party laboratory to ensure that what's on the label is really inside the bottle. So when you add the facts up, it should be pretty clear why we believe Gluco Pro Balance is the most advanced natural blood sugar lowering solution available today. With our all-natural, bioavailable ingredients, Gluco Pro Balance is unmatched in its ability to lower blood sugar quickly and naturally, increase insulin sensitivity, prevent blood sugar spikes and unhealthy drops, lower bad cholesterol, melt body fat, improve heart health, and so much more. And our highly advanced blood sugar lowering formula is full of natural antioxidants which can protect you from long-term health risks and dangerous free radicals, too. In fact, within just a few short weeks of taking Gluco Pro Balance, you could feel like you've been given a new lease on life. Imagine if you could wake up without worrying about checking your blood sugar. Imagine being able to eat your favorite foods again without feeling guilty. Or finally getting the thumbs up from your doctor to stop taking your diabetes medication. Imagine diabetes disappearing from your life forever, feeling healthier, more energized, and more confident than ever before. Now, stop imagining, because those are exactly the kind of things people who use Gluco Pro Balance report. Just like Chris Monroe in Des Moines, Iowa. He says, "When I saw Patrick's Gluco Pro Balance presentation, I felt that I finally found someone who understood what I was going through. My life as a diabetic was torturing me and everyone I loved. It made me feel like I had a handicap on life, like I couldn't enjoy the same things I used to. Gluco Pro Balance helped me to get my blood sugar under control, and for the first time in 7 years, I'm feeling like my life is worth living. I've trimmed up, become more active, and I just feel like I got a second chance at life. Plus, the ingredients feel so clean and natural, I don't have any jitters or anxiety. Gluco Pro Balance is now a part of my daily regimen." And Melissa Williams in Myrtle Beach, Florida, she says, "My husband Jack and I had been riding the diabetes death train for decades. We follow our doctor's advice only to end up hospitalized and sick. The disease nearly drove us apart, with both of us spending upwards of $1,000 a month on medical bills. When Jack almost died of DKTA, I said enough is enough. We weren't going out that way. Gluco Pro Balance has been such a tremendous blessing. The improvement both Jack and I have made in just a few short months is fantastic. I'm completely off my prescriptions, and Jack hasn't had a reading over 160 in weeks. It's not only made us healthier, but the success we've had with Gluco Pro Balance has brought us closer together. Thank you, Gluco Pro Balance, for giving me hope that we could have our health and marriage back." So now, let me share exactly how you can join Chris and Melissa, and more than 12,000 people across the country who are using Gluco Pro Balance every day, and who report that they've never experienced better blood sugar readings than when using this breakthrough formula. The normal price of Gluco Pro Balance is $149. And while I know that might sound pretty steep, you need to remember there's really nothing else like Gluco Pro Balance available on the market today. The vast majority of blood sugar supplements you see for sale online and at health stores are questionable at best. Some of them are even manufactured across the border in Mexico, where there's the danger of lead and other poisons creeping in. And as you've seen, many pharmaceuticals just make problems worse and put you on a medication merry-go-round for the rest of your life. Plus, remember, Guggle, the main ingredient inside Gluco Pro Balance, takes 8 years to mature in the wild. And even once it's mature, it's only able to produce 100 milligrams of its healing resin every 2 years. So if you use most Guggle supplements, it's likely that manufacturers cut corners and your product is weak and useless. Plus, even if you use Guggle, you still won't have all the other ingredients found in Gluco Pro Balance, which are essential to fighting back against your type 2 diabetes. Plus, given that the ingredients inside of Gluco Pro Balance have been scientifically proven to lower blood sugar, increase your insulin sensitivity, lower cholesterol and fat, and even help with inflammation and oxidative stress, the chances are high that if you begin using Gluco Pro Balance regularly, you'll end up cutting $300 a month or more from your healthcare costs. Plus, Gluco Pro Balance can not only lower your blood sugar, it comes with a load of side benefits like a stronger immune system, reduced fat, anti-aging properties, and better cardiovascular health. This means a healthier you, and less money spent on prescriptions, doctor visits, and health insurance. So considering you'll probably save at least $5,760 in annual healthcare costs when you use Gluco Pro Balance to conquer your diabetes and protect your health, I really do think $149 is a fair price for Gluco Pro Balance. But while that may be the case, I also know that many folks are on a fixed income or a tight budget, and that $149 is a lot to ask. And so after much back and forth, I've decided to give you a special deal from right inside this presentation, a discount that will let you try out Gluco Pro Balance for not $149 or even $97, but instead just $69. And that's a savings of $80. But it's just the start. You see, because so many of our customers end up ordering 6 bottles of Gluco Pro Balance at a time, so they remain stocked up on this important blood sugar lowering breakthrough, and so they can share it with their significant others, their family members, and their friends, we've created a special multi-bottle discount where you can get Gluco Pro Balance for as low as $49 per bottle. To get started right now with your own supply of Gluco Pro Balance, simply click the button you see below this video and get started placing your order. I should also mention this 6-bottle package is by far our most popular option, because the more you take Gluco Pro Balance, the better it'll work for you, and the more benefits you'll experience each day. That's why so many of our customers decide to stock up on Gluco Pro Balance when there are supplies available. That way they can feel confident, knowing that their journey to diabetes freedom won't be interrupted 30 days from now if we run out of stock, which happens a lot because of Gluco Pro Balance's incredible popularity. So go ahead and order your 6-month supply of Gluco Pro Balance today, or whatever amount is right for you, by clicking the button below this video right now. Once you do that, you'll go to our secure and encrypted checkout page, where you'll enter your basic order details. Total, this process takes less than 2 minutes. And the moment you're done, Gluco Pro Balance will be out the door and on the way to you. We'll also cover shipping and handling for you, which saves you another $12.99. But the free shipping is only available while there are supplies of Gluco Pro Balance in stock. You should also know that your order of Gluco Pro Balance is covered by our 6-month, 100% money-back guarantee. Here's how it works. Right now, you simply click the button below this video and secure your very own supply of Gluco Pro Balance. Your order will then arrive in the next 3 to 5 business days. And the moment you get it, I want you to rip open that packaging and start using Gluco Pro Balance. I'm incredibly confident that you'll notice a huge difference when you start taking this premium blood sugar lowering formula, that you'll enjoy lower blood sugar readings day after day, and they'll stay that way. And if you change your mind about Gluco Pro Balance for any reason in the next 6 months, just call or email our award-winning U.S.-based customer service team, and we will immediately refund your full investment with 0 questions asked. Plus, on top of that, you don't even need to return your order. Gluco Pro Balance will be yours to keep as our way of saying thanks. So, in other words, there is absolutely zero risk or reason for hesitation here today. You have a full 180 days to see if Gluco Pro Balance is for you. And if you change your mind, you don't pay a dime. But if you're ready to take advantage of this life-changing offer, you do need to act fast. Because when you choose to take control of your life and your health today, and you finally end your diabetes, high cholesterol, and unhealthy weight gain for good, you're not only saving your life, but you are saving the lives of your loved ones around you who would be devastated if this debilitating disease cut your life short. So go ahead and choose the offer below that best works for you, and click the button you see below right now, and begin your journey to blood sugar freedom as soon as today. There's no time to waste. In addition to only having a limited discounted supply available, we're also under constant fire from Big Pharma and Big Government. Given that Gluco Pro Balance helps people to restore their health and fight their diabetes without taking any pills, using addictive substances or prescriptions, and that you don't need to pay for expensive doctor's visits or exams, the $327 billion diabetes industry can't stand what we're doing. As a result, we're under constant harassment from their lawyers, and I simply cannot guarantee how long this offer will remain online. So go ahead and order your very own supply of Gluco Pro Balance today by clicking the button below right away. You'll be saving up to $100 per bottle when you make that decision, getting shipping and handling for free, a $12.99 savings, and you'll be protected by that 180-day, 100% money-back guarantee. It's one heck of a deal, 100% risk-free. But this presentation is ending, so this is your last chance. You've seen the science behind Gluco Pro Balance and its blood sugar lowering powers, and how using all natural ingredients can help improve insulin resistance and drop your blood sugar upon the very first dose. You've seen how all 14 ingredients inside of Gluco Pro Balance have been linked to lowering blood sugar, decreasing bad cholesterol, burning fat, and even anti-inflammatory benefits. And how the all-natural guggle inside Gluco Pro Balance can change your life. So whether you want to get off your diabetes medication, or you simply want to protect yourself from blood sugar-related issues, Gluco Pro Balance is the answer you've been looking for. Ultimately, the choice is yours, but I hope you'll make the smart decision by clicking the button below and trying your own risk-free supply of Gluco Pro Balance today. Sincerely, Patrick Singleton. Hey, are you still here? No problem. I know that was a lot to take in, and maybe there's something on your mind still. So, to help you out, let me go ahead and answer some of the most common questions folks ask. That way you can make your investment in Gluco Pro Balance today with total confidence. 1. Who is Gluco Pro Balance for? Gluco Pro Balance is a highly optimized blood sugar support formula that uses the power of the guggle plant, along with 14 other natural ingredients, to lower blood sugar, decrease bad cholesterol, and fight against diabetes. But it's not just people who are suffering from diabetes who can benefit from Gluco Pro Balance. The breakthrough is for anyone suffering from any type of obesity or weight issue, people who want to melt fat and strengthen their metabolism, or anyone who wants to live their most productive, happiest life possible. 2. What makes Gluco Pro Balance different from all those other blood sugar supplements I see advertised? Gluco Pro Balance is made with 14 essential ingredients that increase insulin sensitivity and drop glucose levels in the blood. The ingredients inside of Gluco Pro Balance are all natural, organic, and have been quality tested for purity, potency, and safety. Plus, our all-natural ingredients are backed with beneficial amino acids, antioxidants, anti-inflammatories that defend and protect your blood sugar health. These 14 ingredients are non-synthetic, which means they aren't made with fillers and harmful chemicals that are found in prescription drugs. Additionally, Gluco Pro Balance is manufactured in a GMP-certified facility that follows all FDA guidelines, and each batch is independently tested by a third-party laboratory, which ensures that what you see on the label is what you get inside each bottle. 3. How long will this offer be available for? That's a good question, but the answer is complicated. For one thing, because the costs to source our all-natural ingredients are quite high, we only have limited amounts of discounted supply in stock. Remember, normally Gluco Pro Balance is $149 a bottle. But through this webpage, you can get it for just $69 per bottle while supplies last, and just $49 when you stock up today. Besides supplies being limited, however, there's also the threat that Big Pharma's multi-million-dollar lawyers shut us down. We'll certainly fight them as long as we can. But given that Gluco Pro Balance can help reverse diabetes and control your blood sugar, not just mask the symptoms, both the diabetes industry and Big Pharma are desperate to get this presentation removed from the internet fast. 4. What can you tell me about the guarantee again? As I mentioned, it's a full 6-month, 100% money-back guarantee. This means if you change your mind about your investment for any reason in the next 180 days, just call or email our award-winning U.S.-based customer service team, and we'll immediately refund your investment with 0 questions asked. In other words, there's no risk whatsoever. 5. Okay, I'm ready to order. What do I need to do? Simply click the button at the bottom of this presentation. You'll then go to our secure order page, where you'll enter your shipping details. Then in 3 to 5 business days, Gluco Pro Balance will be at your front door. Shipping and handling are 100% free, which is a $12.99 savings. But remember, there are only limited supplies of Gluco Pro Balance available at any given time, which means if you put this off, it could be months until you have another chance to experience Gluco Pro Balance for yourself. So, go ahead and order Gluco Pro Balance now at this huge savings. And we look forward to hearing about your experience with this premium blood sugar supplement.